And I will record. Got it.
Excellent. Ready to go. Well, oh, there it is, the recording in progress. Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. It is 6:31. We are here for our open session of the North Clackamas School Board meeting. Excited to have you all here. Thank you for being here. There's lots of places you could have been, so we're excited to have you here. We'll begin this evening with our native land acknowledgement. Director Bauer, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Chair Ford. We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District. It rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you, Director Bauer. And as usual, because we are online, we currently will not do a flag salute, but when we get back in person, we will absolutely add that back on our agenda. And just for the other board members.
Me too.
Tori is back in the meeting now. So we currently have 6 members here instead of 5. All right, next on our agenda is our minutes from September 9th, 2021. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Director Benaloga, move approval of the September 9th, 2021 board meeting minutes.
Director Shadle, second.
And properly moved by Director Benaloga and second by Director Shradle. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing none. I'll do everyone that is against approving the September 9th, 2021 minutes, please acknowledge. Seeing none, minutes approved. Moving on to consent agenda, there are 4 items: employment changes, 2022 to 2023 budget calendar, budget committee vacancies, travel requests by Sabin Schellenberg Center FFA. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Director Shradle, move approval of consent agenda that includes employment changes, 2022-2023 budget calendar, budget committee vacancies, and travel requests for Sabin Schellenberg Center FFA.
Do I have a second?
Director Perez, second.
And properly moved by Director Shradle and second by Director Perez. All those opposed to this motion, please make some sound or let me know. Hearing none, consent agenda is approved. Okay, we're moving into our community comments. I think we have one, correct? Who am I asking?
You're asking me. This is Sandra. Yes, we have tonight Nicole Perry from Safe Routes to Schools.
Before we begin, I will read our current statement regarding public statements. I'm sorry, there it is. Okay. A speaker should give their name, city of residence, and the group, if any, that is represented, and will limit their presentation to 3 minutes. If there are more patrons desiring to present comments than time allotted, the board chair has the authority to reduce the presentation time for individual speakers or institute a prioritization process with attention to order of sign up and city of residence. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs that are of concern to them. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual district's staff member or any person connected with the district. As an organization centered around youth and their positive development, all speakers will model respectful public comment and be mindful of civil discourse. The board vests in its chair or other presiding officer authority to terminate the remarks of any individual when those remarks do not adhere to the rules established in this policy. So we are online, of course, so to help the speaker understand where we are, I just have these cards that tell you where you are in your time zone. So when you have 30 seconds left, I'll let you know. But let us begin with our first speaker. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Nicole Perry, and I live in Milwaukee. I am the mom of 2 North Clackamas students. My husband and I moved to Milwaukee over 13 years ago, intentionally for the location, community, and the school district. Our oldest is a junior at Milwaukee High School, and our youngest is in 7th grade at Rao Middle School. I have been a Safe Routes to School advocate, volunteer, and coordinator for many years, as well as participated on PTAs and city committees. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I am having great conversations with parents, school personnel, and community members about safety in neighborhoods around schools. And I look forward to collaborating on a variety of things that could help improve that neighborhood safety. Thank you for all of the time you all volunteer for this board before and during this pandemic. I appreciate the civility and respect you all show. I enjoy being a volunteer in the district and was really happy to help out at Picture Day today. Thank you again, and I am hopeful for a safe, healthy, and successful school year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry. We appreciate you coming out and spending your time sharing during public comment. And also, I'd like to recognize the few comments that we received as a board. We received requests for a COVID dashboard similar to PPS. We received requests for district-specific graduation requirements. We received requests for clearer COVID policies. Also, we got a message and a request to support some individuals who want to discuss the hate incident or the incident earlier this year. We also have a request or an email talking about the confusion of our LGBTQ plan and the fact that they feel that it does not teach all kids. So just so you all know, we do read them. We respect the fact that you guys have different opinions and different needs, and we need to know them in order for us to have informed decisions during this meeting. So please continue to keep us informed on your concerns and your needs so that we can stay informed. All right, moving right along to the next part of our agenda. It's our Filipino-American History Month proclamation. And I do want to read the background of this because I feel like it's well worded in our agenda. So I thought I'd read it out loud. Filipino Americans are the second largest Asian American group in the nation. The celebration of Filipino-American History Month in October commemorates the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States, which occurred on October 18th, 1587. And so it's really important for us to know that sometimes in the moment we recognize things, but these moments are years and years and years of something existing. And sometimes we never really took a moment to pause and say, this is this moment. And it was this moment for many years. And there's a few individuals that might do that, but this is our moment to make sure that we all recognize it. So I will go ahead and let our board begin the process of reading the proclamation, and then we will vote on it. So who's first? think it's.
I
Director-
am first, Chair Ford,
Yeah.
and thank you for the honor of starting this off this evening. Whereas the Filipino-American National Historical Society had declared the year 1988 to be the 225th anniversary of the permanent settlement of Filipinos in the continental United States and had set into motion its year-long
national importance in order to focus on the story of our nation's past from a new perspective by concentrating on the economic, culture, social, and other notable contributions Filipino Americans had made in countless ways towards the development of the United States history. And whereas in 2009, US Congress recognized October as Filipino-American History Month in the United States.
Whereas efforts must continue to promote the study of Filipino-American history and culture, so mandated in the mission statement of the Filipino-American National Historical Society, because the role of Filipino-Americans and those of other people of color have been overlooked in the writings, teachings, and learnings of the United States history. And
whereas it is imperative for Filipino-American youths to have positive role models and to instill in them the importance of education, complemented with the richness of their ethnicity and the values of their legacy. And
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Clackamas School District hereby proclaims the month of October 2021 as Filipino-American History Month and encourage all residents to honor Filipino-American history and culture.
adopted this day, 23rd day of September 2021. Okay, I'll open the floor for a motion. And just so you guys know, Tori McVeigh is here, so he's ready to read, Stephen. All right, open the floor for a motion.
Director Ford, or Chair Ford, I move board adoption of the proclamation recognizing October 2021 as Filipino-American History Month in North Clackamas School District.
Director Perez, I second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. I will do a round robin vote. How do you vote, Director Perez?
Caught me off guard, Chair. Aye.
Director Benaloga,
Aye.
Director McVeigh, okay, I'll come back. Director Strado,
Aye.
Director Bauer,
Aye.
Director McVeigh, are you there? Okay, and I'm also an aye. We do have a quorum with the 5 of us, so motion carries. Thank you guys for that. All right, next on our agenda is our school district administrators month proclamation. We will begin with that, but before we begin with that, someone has Tori on mute, so I will make sure that we help take him off of mute when we get to the reading part. So just be aware of that. I think it's between me and Sandra. All right, Director Schrader, are you ready to start us off on this? Well, first, before we begin, I'm sorry, let me give you a little background. This month of October 2021 has been declared as National Principals Month in coordination with the efforts of National Association of Elementary School Principals and National Association of Secondary School Principals. The board is, we have this administrator thing, but I think we're trying to expand it. Dr. James, am I correct? It's not just principals?
You are correct. We are wanting to honor our district administrators for all they do.
Excellent. Cool. All right, Director Schrader, let's start this off.
Thank you, Director Ford. It's my honor to start this off on this one. Whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of district administrators providing the mobilizing efforts behind school district improvement efforts.
Whereas administrators in their various roles are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facilities managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives, as well as being entrusted with the education and development of young people, the most valuable resource.
Whereas administrators help establish a positive district climate and work collaboratively with staff to develop and maintain high standards and set performance goals and objectives for the district to achieve excellence.
Whereas the North Clackamas School District recognizes outstanding leaders who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, as well as their exemplary contributions to the profession.
Whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all district administrators to the success of students in North Clackamas elementary and secondary schools, and to encourage residents of North Clackamas to observe School District Administrators Month with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness of school leadership's role in ensuring that every child has access to a high-quality education.
Be it resolved in honor of the service of administrators and to recognize the importance of their leadership so that every child has access to a high-quality education and to celebrate school district leader accomplishments. The month of October 2021 is hereby designated to the North Clackamas School District to be School District Administrator Month. And I'll let you finish it, Chair Ford.
Excellent. The 23rd day of September 2021. Before I open the floor for a motion, I know that I kind of took over, but the presenter is supposed to be Dr. James. So Dr. James, what do you have to say about this proclamation before we vote?
You did a lovely job. I don't need to add anything. Just was going to express that I hoped that the board would pass this resolution. So thank you. No worries.
Excellent. Very cool. Excellent. All right. I will open the floor for a motion regarding this proclamation.
Director Benaloga, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Benaloga.
I move that the board adopt the attached resolution expressing support for school district administrators by designating the month of October in the year 2021 as School District Administrator Month in the North Clackamas School District.
Director Schradel, second.
It's been properly moved in second.
I apologize, Director Perez. I saw you going for that.
No, you got the quicker draw, so you win. Director Benaloga has given us a motion. Director Schrader is a second. Any discussion? Director Bauer.
I just want to acknowledge the hard work of our administrators, and especially in light of the 18 months they've had to change direction. It's been hard losing staff, and we have new staff that they're leading. And very often when issues come to us, we remind people, turn them around, and they go back to their district principals and talk to them and help solve problems, as teachers do too. So I just want to acknowledge the hard work and their leadership. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Perez?
Chair, I could say something. I just want to say, from everything I've seen, I feel like we're the luckiest school district on the planet. We got, every time I see or hear, our administrators, I can go on all day talking about their greatness. They're amazing and what they do. And working alongside many of them over the last few years, it's been an honor. Cindy and Dr. James and Tiffany and Shelly and Mark, Derek Brown, I can go on and on. There's so many. It's amazing. I can profusely spout off all kinds of stuff. And also let me do a shout out to our principals, because we've been lucky to have Principal Curtis Long at Scouters Mountain. And I don't think I've ever seen a principal with as much energy as that man. He even sleeps on top of school roofs and losing, fun bets. Amazing. Anyway, thank you.
Excellent. Any other discussion? I'm just going to say, I hope that as administrators, you guys take a moment to realize the success of each day. I have been privileged to usually turn around on my run when I see buses start to come out of the parking lot and start to move across the streets of our neighborhoods. And then when I drop off my kids, I watch administrators and staff and supporters moving cars in many directions to keep kids safe and arrive in. And I get emotional with it because, like the proclamation says, children are our most valuable resource. And every day you guys get up and you make this thing move. And sometimes you're so busy trying to find the things that go wrong that you forget that it's still moving. And it's moving in a way that many of us don't even realize the details that you're thinking about, because it just happens. But when you sit and think about it, I hope that you can digest just how wonderful your job is, how wonderful of a job you're doing, and just how important you are, because you're setting up our future every single day. And so from the purest place of my heart, I'm so appreciative to each and every one of you. I know that you lose sleep over it, but I appreciate every moment that you spend on making sure our kids are okay. So thank you for that. All right, let's vote on this. I'll do a round robin. Director McVeigh, are you still off of mute or what do we? Oh, there you are. Yep. Director McVeigh.
I'm here.
Okay.
Aye.
Excellent. Director Bauer.
Aye.
Director Perez.
Aye.
Okay. Director Benaloga.
Aye.
Director Strado.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Thank you guys for all your hard work. Appreciate you guys. I think Director McVeigh, you have something you need to say, or? Okay, I think we lost Director McVeigh. He had a schedule conflict, but we appreciate him coming for the time that he was able to be here. Okay, next on our agenda is our View Acres Elementary School presentation. We haven't seen an elementary school presentation in a while, and they already got the fingers going. I'm excited. That's like classic elementary school, right? They already got us excited. Like, well, welcome. And we also have presenting with them is Kalia Williams Rodriguez. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Excited to have you guys.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. It is with great pleasure that I am here to share Principal Liz Manspeaker and the View Acres Elementary School community. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to join you today. And, sometimes when you draw the stick to go in September, it feels a little overwhelming, but I feel very fortunate right now because of the presentation you just did. I got to hear that live in person, and I can't thank you enough. And I was going to start my presentation with a huge thank you to you. I've been getting some really nice compliments as my parents drop off kids in the morning, and I've been sharing them with my staff, but I think they also reflect the work that you all do on this board. They have all been around. Thank you for opening schools. Thank you for your hard work to keep our kids safe. And that isn't just a principal's job, that's a school board's job, that's administrators at the district level, and certainly the teacher's job at our school. So you also deserve to hear those compliments that I've been hearing. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm going to open, I hope, my Google Chrome, and I don't use Zoom, just so you know. So I hopefully am doing this correctly. If somebody cannot see my presentation, please tell me. That would be embarrassing. I'm very happy to be here. I do have 3 teachers on camera with me right now. Mrs. Lisa Cunningham teaches 5th grade at our school. Mrs. Michelle Emra teaches 1st grade, and Ms. Karen Southard teaches kindergarten. And they are here for moral support, but they'll be here at the question and answer portion if you want to engage them. And I also wanted to point out that I did use some pictures in my presentation from before COVID. So if you see maskless pictures, it is not now. I wanted to share our View Acres mission with each of you. This mission is that View Acres, in partnership with our families and community, provides a safe, caring environment dedicated to lifelong learning through a balance of educational program of academics and art. All learners will gain knowledge and skills, build character, and develop confidence to achieve success in a changing world. And I think one of the things that you should know is that for several years, our school has participated in the Right Brain Initiative to fill that art need. And a lot of that art trickles into our curriculum and instruction. And if you walk the halls of our school, I know Mitzi has done that with us in a celebration of art. You will see lots of fabulous projects, and hopefully some of you in the boardroom are seeing a few things that we were able to collect last spring when we finally got to be in person again. We have a very strong PTO that helps support our community, and I'll talk more about them in a few minutes. And our staff really works together to develop trauma-informed care and practices that include equity and inclusion. And I'm just really proud to be the principal of View Acres Elementary School. This is my 30th year in North Clackamas and my 20th year as a school administrator, and I won the lottery. I've won the lottery a couple times in North Clackamas. I think, Mr. Perez, you stated we couldn't be luckier to work in this district, and you're right. I've worked in amazing schools, but I really have, it's the hidden gem, as Mrs. Emra would tell you. View Acres is a lovely place to be. We have an amazingly supportive school community. Our teachers love what they do. They show up to work every day giving 100% or more, frankly. Our parent-teacher organization is strong. They raise funds to support us in ways that we would not be able to support ourselves. And they show up to volunteer when volunteering is something that we can do at our school. And I'm very thankful for the families of View Acres. We have an amazing garden at our school, and I would invite you to come over and see it before we put it to bed. But we have our PTO funds a garden coordinator who is a retired teacher who teaches all of our students gardening. And she's going to incorporate some social emotional learning into that work this year, because being in nature is good for our souls. And she sees that garden as a place to help kids find focus and calm. And we, coming off of a year that we've come off of, we could all use a little nature therapy in our lives. I've put on here some of the things that we love about View Acres, and I have teachers that are willing to do after school clubs, like my music teacher has done Glee Club in the past. And I have parents that manage a Battle of the Books team, and my PE teacher, and this is a huge accomplishment. He does a jump rope for the American Heart Association every year, and he did it during the pandemic, and we still raised $5,454 for the American Heart Association. So that's about half of what we raised the year we were in person. But I think that just shows how this community comes together to support others. And I appreciate that so much. And I put a little camp learned a lot. We like to celebrate at View Acres and celebrate all of the learning that's happening at our school. And so every year in the spring, we put on a week of celebration for that. And the teachers run and organize those events, which include gatherings, song and flag ceremonies, and then of course, celebrating and doing some creative projects at the end of the school year. I'm just gonna hit play on this slideshow. There will be no words, but it will, hopefully you will just see some pictures of our school as I talk a little bit about our experience with distance learning. Every single staff member pitched in to make that a success. This is the beginning of last year when we were handing out supplies and students meeting on Zoom calls or teacher staff meetings, and you can actually see joy. So I want you to know that it wasn't all bad. It wasn't how we want to do school, but we found ways to bring some joy and excitement into that experience. We found ways to have kids connect socially while online. Teachers hosted art classes when they didn't have to be teaching directly. I hosted lunches. My counselor hosted lunches that kids could drop into, and we just ate together and talked and told jokes or played games digitally. But of course, the best part of last year was the end of last year when we could all, those of us that could return in person, were able to return in person. And I hope that some of these pictures show you that we were successful. There was a lot of hands-on opportunity, art. We did more work outside. Of course, we were more spaced and we were masked, but we got to connect again with kids and with each other, and it was joyful. And so I just want you to know that there were a lot of hardships last year, but there was joy, and it could be found here at View Acres. So I'm going to escape out of that. This was our 5th grade celebration. It was pretty successful. We did a little drive-through, and we were all outside celebrating our 5th graders as they left our school. So we think we sent them off well to middle school. I'll come back to the slideshow. I think I have to go back into present mode to get the whole screen. I think you can see it. I want you to hear a little bit from our students as well. I had all of 1 week to be back in the building before I put a camera in front of our kids' faces. And I just asked them, what do you love about our school? What did you miss about our school? And what do you hope for this year? And so I'll let you listen to them now.
One thing I miss about school is seeing all my friends and being around.
I'm gonna hide you.
What I miss about
Whoops, sorry.
what I miss about school was my friends and math and all that school stuff that I kind of forgot because I haven't been in school in such a long time.
The thing I missed about View Acres was doing the fun art projects.
What I miss of Lakers is all of my friends and learning, all of math. What I like about View Acres is that the playground's really big, and I made a good friend named Delica here. What I like about View Acres is that I can be with my friends and play with them all the time.
Okay, I think View Acres is a really nice school because it taught me a lot of things like how to spell better and how to have handwriting better. And I think the playground is really fun, and I'll be sad when I go to middle school because there won't be a playground.
Hello, I'm Kohana, and View Acres is really fun. You get to do a lot of crafts, you get to do games. It's so much fun.
Hi, my name is Michelle Underland, and what I love about the school is everything because I've been here since kindergarten, and the one thing that's really bad about the school is COVID-19. What I like about View Acres is that we can have fun here, and then we get to learn math.
My favorite part about View Acres is all the teachers are super supportive, and I've learned so many things because they're really easy to learn because of, like I said, all the teachers.
What I like about View Acres is all the teachers are super kind. They can be a little bit strict sometimes, but they're actually super nice, and they actually really care about you, especially this kid. He also makes me want to laugh.
The best thing about View Acres is having to see my friends again.
The best part of View Acres is the teachers and staff because they're super nice to us. The best thing about View Acres is that I have a lot of friends here, and it's a good school.
Hoping for this year is that COVID will go away soon so we can all come back together without masks.
What I'm hoping for this year is that I have a good school year. I hope for this school to be the best. I hope that we won't have to be wearing masks for that long anymore. I hope that COVID goes away because I don't like wearing my mask. I hope I catch a Pokemon this year.
Oh, boy. I hope that you loved hearing their voices, because that is why we are all here. Every single one of those kids deserves our very best, and they deserve to be in school with each other and with their fabulous teachers. And we're going to do our very best to make sure that that's a safe experience for each and every one of those kiddos. And I hope you love the humor at the end, my friend that wants to catch a lot of Pokemon this year. Sorry, when I click it again, it starts to play again. So then, of course, you know, I had to ask a few of my teachers what they hope for this year, and not all of them were quite as brave as my students. So this is a much shorter video, but please humor me in hearing their hopes.
Hi, my name is Susie Lofton. I'm a third grade teacher here at View Acres Elementary School. And my hope is that my students have as much energy in June as they have in September. They just came here ready to be students, ready to be learners. They are eager and kind and wonderful. And I'm so glad that I get to be here with them each and every day. My hope is that I get to be here each and every day with them the entire school year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great year.
My hope this year is for, of course, to stay in person as long as we can. But more than that, I just hope that kids remember their love of being at school. I hope that they have a purpose for coming each day, whether it's to see their friends, make new friends, learn something, tease their teacher, but just to have that purpose of coming every day. And I just hope we never lose this feeling right now, this feeling that I have of just being so grateful to be in person with my whole class and how much I love it. I've taught for 29 years, and this year it reminded me how much I love teaching. So that's my hopes.
I hope to help each child find something that they're passionate about, something that gets them up in the morning, happy and eager to come to school.
My dream for my students is this. I hope that they're able to keep their first day excitement of kindergarten all year long and throughout their whole schooling experience.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity to tell you our hopes and dreams this year. I touched on our school garden a little bit ago, but this is something that I think is unique to our school. I know a few other schools have gardens, but ours is, it's been in play for several years now, and we have an amazing garden coordinator. And I'd like to direct your eyes to that row of yummy looking carrots there at the bottom of the screen. Those were all actually harvested today. Students, you can see a picture of a student coming through the bean tunnel. Each grade level plants something different in the spring. They harvest in the fall. They learn about seeds. They try things like fennel. Sometimes my personal joy is to go out into the garden when I need a fresh air break and just find a place to sit down or walk around and look at the bees that are loving on the flowers. We isolated some kids out there the other day when we were waiting for rides. So there's benches in our garden that we can keep a distance. I've had parent meetings in the garden this year because there's benches outside. So this garden does bring a lot of joy. And I hope someday that you might come by and join us for a garden party, or just come and soak up some of that sunshine and nature in our special spot. You will enjoy it as well, I promise. This year, we do have 3 major goals for our school, and they probably don't sound a lot different than a lot of my colleagues would post, but we want all of our 3rd graders to be reading at or above grade level by the end of this school year, and our 4th and 5th grade students to meet their grade level benchmarks in math. So this is literacy and math are goals for all of our students, but we'll be measuring both of those using STAR and DIBELS assessments and topic assessments in both of the curricular areas. And then we're working on student identity and belonging and celebrating students' strengths as individuals and making sure they know that they are loved and welcomed and belong in our classroom just the way they show up, the skin that they're in, their gender identity, their religious beliefs. They are all exactly who they're supposed to be in our school, and we want to celebrate them and make them feel proud of who they are and their contributions to our school community. We are going to meet those goals by working together as a staff. This is a old picture, thus no mask wearing happening here, but we will have opportunities for professional development in the area of core instruction. We will continue our use of professional learning communities and our MTSS process to monitor student progress and meet kids' individual needs through interventions and diversifying our curriculum and differentiating. And we will continue to use our SEL curriculum of connected and respected and class meetings to meet the emotional needs of our students this year. We have had in the past very strong volunteers at View Acres. I don't have hours to share with you from last year, of course, but I have parents knocking on my door, and thankfully I have some that are like, look, if I can't volunteer, I'd be happy to work for you. So what jobs do you have? Because they're anxious to be able to be back in our schools. When they can volunteer, our parents help us with many things, such as our backpack buddies, our lunch buddies, classroom support, field trip support, running club, chess club, Oregon Battle of the Books. We just have a very rich group of parents. I don't mean rich, I just mean a large group of parents that will support us, and not just parents. We have community members that like to offer their support of our school as well. And we look forward to welcoming them back into our building. As you know, we had some bond work that seemed like it was never going to end, if I'm being fair, but the end result has turned out beautifully. We have 2 new classrooms at the end of our very long hall of classrooms that are housing a 5th grade and a 3rd grade this year, and they are pictured in the 2 pictures on the left-hand side of this projection. In the middle of this screen, you see our TLC classroom, which is our students from throughout the district that come to our school for a special education program. And they have been housed in our lower level of the school that hasn't always looked very classroom-like. And so there was bond work done to make that look like a rich learning environment. And you can see some sound tiles on the ceiling. That classroom is right below the cafeteria and the gym, and those tiles weren't always there. It was very loud. And as you might imagine, if you're working on your behavior, you don't need a lot of distraction and extra noise, and that's helped immensely. They also have a dedicated break space that's now a part of their classroom instead of old closets in the hallway. And that's brings a lot of dignity to their program, and it looks really lovely down there. All of our student bathrooms got repainted, floors resurfaced, new sinks, and they are freshly updated. And then our kitchen got quite a bit of work. There's a new serving line, a new refrigeration system, and new flooring maybe 3 times during the process, but they finally got it right. So it looks really good. And we are very, very pleased with the work that was done during this bond. And we have a new track. I didn't get a picture of that, but there's a new track on the lower field as well. We're anxious to get down there and start jogging. And that brings us to the end of my presentation, but I'm happy to field some questions or open this up for discussion if that's appropriate at this time. And I'm going to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. We always love seeing our schools present what you guys got going on. Directors, what questions or comments do you have?
I can go, Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Principal and Speaker, for that presentation. And I did want to hone in on one of the goals that you had, goal 3, and about identity and belonging. And I think that was reflected in that awesome video of the kids And it was really touching, warmed my heart. And one of the kids said, there's a couple good parts in there, a lot of good parts, but the one kid said, I really like the teachers because, trying to think how she said, because they really care about you. And that really resonated with me because I think before you can, someone once said, we say this a lot here on the board, many of us have said, it's not what you say, it's not what you do, but it's how you make that person feel, make that student feel. And I remember, I think back, I reflect on my experience in school, and one of the best teachers that I remember, I did the best in because I felt valued and safe in this class and cared for. And so that goal number 3, I think that's a foundation that should be developed and built first before everything else kind of trickles or ripples from that. The teaching of math and literacy, but if a child feels like they belong, included. So yeah, that really, hearing that and seeing that, I'm glad that that's an important goal. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Director Perez. And that quote is from Maya Angelou, just to be clear. None of us made that up. And so I want to make sure she gets her credit. Okay, anybody else? Director Bauer.
Just want to say thank you. It was a great presentation. I agree with everything Director Perez said. It was so evident that your teachers care. They're so positive and energetic, and your artwork is amazing, and it just covers all your walls. When I visited a few years ago, and I think you just don't you have some on display in the district office? We saw them electronically, and the sunflowers just brighten my day. So thank you for the important work you do. I really appreciate it. And the student voices said it all. They love everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Bauer. Anybody else have comments or questions? Oh, Director Benaloga, I see you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ford. And thank you, Principal Manspeaker, for the presentation. I've also been to your art night at View Acres, and I was just so impressed with very, very full hallways and lots of families there. And I believe Kona Ice maybe was out front. Yeah, it was wonderful. And again, love to feel that sense of community. I must say, my kids are graduated, and hearing the kids' voices and seeing the excitement and the true passion in your staff just reminded me of what those drop-offs were like when my kids were in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And that is, and I know we say it all the time, but that's what we're here. That's why we're here, is to hear those kiddos talk about your school with such love and adoration for your building and for your teachers, and for obviously the way that you're truly helping them grow and helping them learn. I do want to point out, I love the school garden. I just believe that it's so important to teach our kids and to teach our communities, just connecting the dots with our food source. I think that's wonderful. And I have to note that I love the fact that you got the carrot picture in there, because the presentation that we saw, of course, the carrot picture is not in there. They were harvested today. I love that. That is true dedication to make sure that our board and our community gets to see your rainbow of carrots. So thank you for that. And thank you for all, obviously, just pouring so much into your students. Thank you. It is so important that we all recognize that this is a cog that needs to work together, that it's our community, it's our teachers and our families, it's a district staff that is truly dedicated day in and day out. And I hope I speak for all of us. I think I do, that, and you have a board that supports you 100% and that honors the great days and understands and holds hands and holds hearts with you on the really, really tough days. So thank you for both. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I want you to know that we talk about that a lot at our school, that we really do feel like we have a school board that supports us, district administration and school boards that support us. And we talk about that a lot when we talk about equity. Like, we are going to take risks in this department because they have our backs and they say we can. So I want you to know that that is brought up frequently here.
Cool. Other directors? Okay, I just had I had one question and a few comments. So my first comment is a thank you. I have been looking at demographics about kids for many years, and it always bothers me. I know that there's reasons, but I never liked it that we don't recognize every kid and every demographic. So I want to say thank you, even though it's a few. Many reports will label a few students as insignificant or an asterisk. I truly appreciate the fact that you have numbered them, which to me means you've named them, which is just such a powerful thing. So thank you for that. My question is, with the great work that you guys are doing in the garden and all the things that are happening, especially around the social emotional learning part of it and the connectivity of that, and that being such a huge thing and need, especially after this experience with COVID, is there any room for us to find an intern or someone to study the impact of that garden on social emotional learning and how we can use that information or that study to help keep funding it? Have we ever thought about anything like that, or is there room, is there capacity for that?
That's a really interesting question that I don't probably have the answer to. And I'll be honest that we probably haven't really been focusing on social emotional learning with our garden all along, but I know my coordinator is like, this is a big deal to me. I want to try to incorporate SEL in the garden. And so I would be happy to have conversations with her about how we could potentially measure, like maybe there's a survey that we could come up with about how kids feel about gardening or whatever SEL strand we're going to work on and how they feel about that at the end, and maybe collect some data on that. Because I will tell you, one of the groups that has been doing a lot of harvesting this week is my kids that are in my TLC program. And they were some of the last kids to come up and work in the garden. So they're getting to do a little more harvesting because they're a multi-age group also. So they're getting to harvest in areas that other kids didn't, because they didn't plant that last spring. And the joy that comes in and the excitement over, I'm going to take this bag of beans home and I'm going to eat it at my house, is huge. And as we all know, if we grow our own food, we're more likely going to eat it. And there's also a sense of pride in sharing that food. I've neglected to mention to you that over the course of last year, our garden coordinator donated over 450 pounds of produce to food banks, and has already donated 100 pounds of food this year. So that's really quite something. Usually our students, we harvest and we eat and we try it and we give some away. But last year we didn't have that opportunity. So we were able to feed people in need of fresh produce. And I think that's really remarkable.
That is remarkable. And I would love to see us be able to quantify it, right? Because I think so much of SEL is around some of the end results that are negative. How do we help those end results become different for a student, versus how do we prevent some things through positive activity? So I'd love to see how we could possibly do that. Again, not a directive, just a suggestion.
An idea.
I try to
Thank
be
you.
clear about those things, because I understand when we speak, sometimes it's like they told us no, just a suggestion. And then my other two things are just comments. You mentioned, I know you were being very, very careful with your words and saying we have a lot of rich parents, and I got it and I get it. But I will say you guys got richness in a different way. I remember as a kid, I was not a rich kid, but my mom always told me we were rich in love. And that's very clear in your presentation that you guys are rich in love. And that sometimes is more important than some of the other resources. And I appreciate that. And then the last thing is on the bond work. I'm so happy you brought that up. It's rare that we get a presentation where people recognize their bond work. Like, we get the presentation from the folks that are managing it, right? But it's cool to see it from your perspective and the impact of that bond work and the humanity that has brought about. Because we constantly are talking about the transactional parts of the bond work, right? But the humanity of those students in that room, that's super powerful and really important for us to understand, as well as the aesthetics and all those good things, but the humans that have to actually sit in these spaces, like, what do they feel? So I just appreciate you acknowledging that stuff and sharing that with us so we know how it's working for you, because that's important for our district. So thank you for everything that you've presented today. We appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. Thank you all so much.
Cool. All righty, we are moving right along. And next on our agenda, we have the Superintendent Schools Opening Report, and Dr. James will be presenting that to us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sandra's going to go ahead and present that for me. Thank you. Fantastic. So tonight I'm going to share a little bit about the start of the school year with you, enrollment trends that we've experienced thus far, and a few status and updates of various departments that we have. After a short summer stint of vacation, we were very excited to welcome back our district leadership team in early August. We spent our time together to re-energize ourselves. We welcomed welcome to a new school year, ground ourselves in understanding of our leadership roles as influencers. We discussed positive influence we can create in our environments for students, staff, and community, and the lasting impacts we can build upon for our students. And lastly, I will say we rededicated ourselves to what we are calling a hard reset. And that's a term coined by Gloria Latson-Billings in inspiring greatness through connections and stories. In late August, our building leaders welcomed back staff into their building after being away for almost a year, although some, or over a year really, although some came back in the late spring. We spent some time building community, welcoming our new teachers while discussing, renewing, resetting, and recommitting to our students. We took time to discuss what renewal meant to us so that we were able to address academic, social, and emotional needs of our students. And again, I just want to say thank you to our staff for getting schools up and running and being present for our students. With getting the school year. So here you can see a picture of welcoming back some of our students out at drop off and lunchtime, as you can see. And we were most excited by this part, I will say, and it was a joy to see the smiles, even though they were behind the mask. Sometimes you can see those smiles and light up people's faces and light up our students' faces. Switching gears, next slide. There we go. So here I want to show you a visual of our 7-year enrollment trend and talk about a little bit about what we're experiencing. In general, North Clackamas School District has stayed fairly consistent with enrollment, but the last 2 years has shown a dip, which is not surprising given the educational changes within the pandemic and what we've been navigating. I think what's encouraging for us is if you look at this graph that you'll see that our enrollment trends are trending back up. And as of September 14th, we were a few hundred students shy of our 17,000 students in which we were kind of maintaining at for a while. So that's been a really positive, exciting trend for us as we look at it. I think we're having a few internet problems up here in our office, so bear with us here while she's switching to the new slide. I had to hardwire in earlier. While we're waiting to see if we can get onto the new slide, what I will share with you as we're looking at our enrollment trends and our upward momentum, we have seen an uptick with our elementary students by 300 since last year. So 300 more students in elementary than we had last year during the pandemic and CDL and our hybrid. Our kindergarten and middle school numbers have increased by 150 students, both. So 150 additional students in kindergarten from last year, 150 in middle school. Our high school numbers, we've seen an increase of 300 students. And I will say that no surprise, we had a lot of learning last year with our virtual online program. And this year we have almost doubled the number of our students that are participating in that. And so we've seen an increase of more than 400 students in our virtual online program this year. And we're proud to say that our charter schools have remained stable in their enrollment. So it looks like she's trying to reset the PowerPoint and get us back on track here. Chair Ford, do you want me to just keep going with the information or do you want me to hold for a second? What's best for you? I can kind of narrate it and keep going without the visual, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think just for clarity, this is posted where folks can still get to it, correct? Okay.
It is.
Okay,
yes.
So yeah, let's go ahead and keep going so the awkward silence is not there for you.
That sounds good. All right.
Do you have visual on the presentation at this point?
We do. If you could go to slide 7, if you're there. One more. There we go. Thank you. Looks like we're back up and rolling. Thank you for your support. Technology is great until it doesn't work, and then we get it back together. So here I just wanted to give you a visual of our school enrollment range, and you'll be able to see our largest elementary school is our virtual online program that we have this year with 468. And in terms of our largest brick and mortar elementary school, that's Happy Valley Elementary. And our smallest school, which contains numbers where they can be more intimate with our students, is at Linwood at 222. Looking at middle school, again, Happy Valley Middle School being the largest, and our smallest enrollment numbers at Rowell and Clackamas at our high school. So you see Happy Valley, the trend there with our largest numbers, but we also know that that is where there's a lot of growth in our community and within our county. And then we have New Urban High School, which is able to give much more personal support for our students at the school. Here you can see our virtual online program enrollment by grades, which has remaining fairly consistent across the grade levels. Numbers are spread out evenly, with the exception if you look at the transition years, which really makes sense as we think about parents entering into elementary school and kindergarten and moving into 6th grade at middle school and high school. Those numbers tend to be a little bit lower as they're entering in. And then when you look at the other numbers across the set, fairly consistent with a few changes within that. Switching gears a little bit again here, this graphic gives you an illustration of the number of students and staff that we have had out due to isolation or quarantine related to COVID-19. You can see that we've had an uptick since the beginning of September. And if we move to the next slide, that'll show the last 3 weeks really, which will show September, and which we want to bring a little bit of focus to. These numbers look a little bit different than what we saw in the summer, and we're just continuing to work hard in creating ways to display this information on our website for clear transparency that should be showing up soon for our community. So we've had a lot of requests of family members that are wanting to see what these numbers look like, and we're trying very hard to get that up and running in a way that is manageable for us and gives our community the information that they need. Our facility staff has been hard at work all through the summer and this year to get us started. They have steadily dealt with supply chain obstacles, added job duties and responsibilities around COVID health and safety protocols. And this is to a very already hardworking staff. And in addition to that, they've been working hard to train new staff to support the additional responsibilities that we've had and also the new schools that we have brought on within North Clackamas School District. Here you see a picture of our new augmentative signs that are being placed on our playgrounds of all of our elementary schools. And they're being placed there to support our nonverbal students for inclusive communication. This is really exciting. And I want to take a second to thank our staff who had a hand in making this happen. It's a very welcomed addition and allows our students that maybe haven't been able to communicate out on the playground a way to do so. And so we're excited about what this could mean for them and where we can take it. We have been very excited to open up a new care site at Spring Mountain Elementary. Currently across our system, we're supporting 377 students with after-school care. We have 152 spots that are currently on hold on a wait list, and we would love to fill those spots. However, again, staffing has been the obstacle for us and trying to find enough staff in order to be able to move some of those students off of the wait list into the care program. So I again want to remind folks that if you know someone that's looking for an opportunity to work for a great school district and work with amazing students and have fun, please reach out to your principals, go check the website. We want to support as many of our families as we can. I just want to give a shout out to our staff at Wichita. Our Wichita Family Support Center keeps working to prioritize the needs of many of our students and families and community. They have continued to serve our families all last year, over the summer, and continue now, sometimes when other places were closed because of supply issues. And I also want to thank those in our community who have showed up to volunteer, who have made donations. Folks have donated money, school supplies, clothing, etc. And without those donations from our community members and our staff, we would not be able to support many of our families in the way that we have. And so just want to say thank you to those that have done that and to our Wichita support staff. And we've also had some new opportunities this year. So while this pandemic has been tough on us, it's also allowed us to cultivate new things that we're moving forward with that are beneficial for our students. So we're in the process of rolling out a one-to-one device deployment this year to secondary students. It will take a little bit of time because of the supply chain things that we're dealing with, but we have a plan and it's rolling. We've reimagined and aligned our tiered support systems and social emotional supports within our elementary schools and really tried to make sure that our students are getting what they need in terms of social emotional learning and tying that to academics. So you heard a little bit of that, a little bit of conversation around that with View Acres. We have reorganized key departments within our organization to better support our staff, students, and families. We have a new technology help desk for families with bilingual speakers that has been more responsive into getting technology needs met this year. We've been able to continue to grow our dual immersion program, particularly at Lot Whitcomb Elementary, which has moved into 3rd grade this year and just continues to grow. And so we're looking forward to where that will take us and where that will go. We've moved forward with some of our new high school courses that will benefit students in preparation for the next phase of their life and leading towards the new AP diploma, which is aligns to the IB diploma at Rex Putnam that we see. So for our students that aren't there. And we continue to advance the efforts of supporting our teachers with mentorship program that's ran by our teaching and learning department, but also that has been supported by NCEA, which is our certified association and partnership. And so we're grateful for what's happening there. So we continue to connect through stories, making space to learn about one another and opening ourselves up to share more about who we are, to strengthen our connection with each other. And we know the healthier we are, the stronger and the healthier that we will be for our students. And so I think what you'll see this year is that this is a theme for us in sharing and telling our stories. And we're looking forward to where that will take us with our connections so that we're strong and healthy for our students. So at this time, I'll stop and take questions, and staff is here to help me with questions that you may have as well.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions? You did such a, Director Bauer.
Well, thank you, Superintendent James, for that. The information, I know it always takes a lot to prepare that. It was valuable. I was looking at the quarantine and the isolation numbers, and you talked about staff. So anytime you're losing staff, you need to find a substitute. Is that right? And the staff could be a teacher in a classroom, it could be a bus driver, it could be, any person in the district. How is that going? And do we need a shout out for other staff too?
We absolutely do. Just much like many industries and what's going on across our country, we are short-staffed. We are short-staffed with our substitutes as well in many places, like you said, the classroom, bus drivers, our instructional assistants. But I want to say that we have, some people have said earlier in terms of hitting the jackpot with this district, we have amazing staff that are stepping up to fill those places where they need to until we can bring others on. We have teachers that are stepping in on their prep periods, that are picking up classes to fill in to make sure students have what they need. We have, there was an admin assistant that was talking to somebody today that was out trying to help change a tire on a bus. Just amazing things that are happening. And I'm so grateful for the people that step in to plug those holes where we need to for our students. But you're right.
And then just one other reminder is when there is a quarantine, how do you let parents know? Would you kind of just review that and then remind parents that there are exceptions to quarantine also? Could you just review that quickly? That was one question I got from a couple of parents.
Absolutely. I think so that you can get a succinct answer, I'm going to ask Joe Bridgman to step in here and share with you what that process looks like.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for that question. So when a form is submitted at a school, for whatever reason, there's a concern with a student or a staff member around COVID, that form comes to the COVID tracking spreadsheet. And there's a team of us right now, about 8 or 9 people that are following that. And we reach out directly to the family. So every family that is submitted from a school will receive a direct phone call from one of us on the COVID team. And we talk through whatever may have been the situation, talk about timelines, talk about any kind of protocols that may be in play from Clackamas County Public Health, and answer any questions, and then direct them if there are any type of resources that they may need. And usually the concerns that we're hearing are mostly around how do our students stay connected to schools? And I can refer them back to building administrators who know how to address those questions.
Thank you. Then the exceptions are if the student is fully vaccinated, then they may not have to quarantine. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So if a student or staff member is fully vaccinated and they're not showing any symptoms, then yes, they can return to school or continue going to school in that situation.
Then the other is if they are they're wearing their mask properly, and if they are following the safety guidelines for distance and other requirements and not showing symptoms. Is that correct?
Yes. So what you described is the masking guidelines and social distancing guidelines in schools and on buses and things like that. So if they're following those guidelines, then yes, they would not be considered close contacts. And so they wouldn't be quarantining. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I impressed with already, what we've learned from the pandemic and your response with getting quick responses for tech support and social emotional needs. I appreciate you putting those into action. So thank you for answering my questions and your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to shout out to the schools and the departments. They're doing a really wonderful job.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Bauer. Anyone else? Director Benaloga?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent James, for the presentation. I want to follow up a little bit on I have a couple of questions surrounding the isolation and quarantine. Do we have full classrooms? Do we have full classrooms or larger scale groups that are being quarantined or isolated at this point? Or are we talking more isolated as far as just individuals?
So at this point, the vast majority of those that are in isolation or quarantine are smaller groups or individuals. There have been a few rare cases where there's a larger number of students, but so far that's been the minority of the cases that we're tracking.
All right, thank you. And then can you just...
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt for a second? Because I think we're making an assumption here that I'd like to make sure we don't move past. Mr. Bridgman, can you please define isolation and define quarantine before we continue to keep talking about it? Because we have many listeners who may not understand the difference.
Yes, thank you very much. And they are very different. So isolation is where someone is confirmed positive COVID or is presumed positive COVID, and isolation is 10 days. Quarantine is 14 days, and that's where a person has been exposed to someone else with COVID. And so when we talk about the two, they are very different. But yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Okay, Director Benaloga, I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Chair Ford. Absolutely. We've been sleeping and breathing this information for a long time, but yeah, I recognize and I very much appreciate the clarification for our community. I have one more question around that. Just to clarify again for the community as well, and just for my knowledge, we're working with the Oregon Health Authority and Clackamas County Health Department to determine who's isolated and who's quarantined, correct?
Correct. We follow guidelines from OHA and Clackamas County Public Health, and we are in contact with Clackamas County Public Health often on a daily to multiple times a day basis.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And then I just have a quick question about the advanced placement seminar for whoever might have that information. So which high schools are we able to offer that in? Or are we offering it in all, or are we offering it in place of in the schools that don't have the IB program? Can you just clarify that for me?
Yeah, Petra, Kellen, are you available to answer questions around the AP?
Yeah, right here. It is the AP seminar course is one of the capstone courses for the AP diploma. So that course is being implemented in our high schools that are not IB high schools. They're our AP schools. So you have Clackamas, Adrian C. Nelson, and Milwaukee High School. And Rex Putnam continues to have the IB diploma.
All right, and then I'm assuming it's voluntary, yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do we have an idea of the number of enrollment and what kind of students? What are our demographics as far as gender and ethnicity?
Oh gosh, sorry, because something made a really loud noise. I don't know right now. I can't give you that information tonight in terms of that level of breakdown. I do know that in some of our schools, the sections are actually pretty robust, about maybe around 30 students, which is great. But I can definitely get you that info.
And then are students self-identifying, or are counselors and teachers identifying kids that maybe should be in the program, or both?
Like we have been doing with our accelerated advanced coursework, we have been very intentional about identifying and encouraging students to, whether it be AP seminar, or whether it be maybe AP US history or AP biology, to be enrolling in this kind of higher level coursework. So we've been working with equal opportunity schools, and they have been supporting our high schools in really identifying the students that should be encouraged and ensuring that we really have representation in our classes, and that it's not the it's not any one demographic of student that has access.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Banaloga. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I just have a few questions and comments. My first, well, I have one question and then the rest are comments. So my question is about the CARE program and the fact that we need so many, well, not so many, but 15, obviously, vacancies are there. And we have this wonderful opportunity of students being in the VOP program and being online. Is there any room for them, as maybe some of our older VOP students, to support the CARE program and maybe get certified in some way and get some credit there?
I saw Cindy just pop on. Perfect timing. Thank you.
And we have, in a couple of limited cases, some high school students assisting with the program, particularly those that were maybe employed by us this summer in our summer care programs as well. It's a little bit trickier in order to be, it doesn't reduce the need for the adult staff as well, because we don't have those student helpers alone with students. They can't have their own caseload. And with COVID, we're keeping cohorting. And so we do have to have an adult in each one of those rooms that we're cohorting in. So while it's definitely a support, it's not necessarily the solution or a solution to the staffing issue.
Got it, makes total sense. And then my other two comments about middle school. The largest one is Happy Valley Middle School. I have the wonderful opportunity of having a student there now. And I think that we need to make note in the next bond on how the heck we stop the traffic over there and all of the issues of the movement. I'm sure the community is going back crazy because I'm going back crazy, and it just doesn't make sense. And so since it is the largest middle school, I hope that we've made note that there's some need there to fix the movement of cars, because it just doesn't make sense. And I'm sure our neighbors are not happy with us right now, because it's insane. And not to mention, a big shout out to all the administrators there who are literally in the streets with stop signs directing traffic every single day. So fully appreciate all of the workarounds that we're doing to make it happen, because it works, but it's crazy. And then the next thing, and maybe this is my real note. I thought maybe we survey the community now before we have a bond, so we know what we're in for. And then that way we can bring that up and know immediately and say, we know what you've asked for, and this is what our solutions are. And then my next comment is just a thank you to everyone in this presentation around COVID. None of you went to school to be epidemiologists, but you now are like a minor in it. And I think it's incredible, the things that you have done. I will say that I think some of the people on the COVID teams that are doing this stuff every day, contact tracing and doing things that are really technical, that I personally think, and again, this is a suggestion, not a directive, that maybe we need to go to our teacher licensing board and get some credit for it, because this is outside of anything anyone has ever asked to do. but there's so much education in it. And I just think that people should be recognized for the work that they're doing. Again, just a suggestion. But other than that, I think it's great that you guys are staying on top of it. It's a lot to stay on top of. So appreciate you guys just moving with the daily changes. All right. Next thing on our agenda is our board reports. I'll do a round robin. We have 5 board members. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Director Strado. Are you ready to rock and roll? What you got for your report?
Yeah, board report. I just want to basically say I'm reading a lot of material, but as far as taking up time this evening, I will return the time back to the chair.
Thank you for that, Director Strado. Director Benaloga.
Just real quick, thank you, Chair Ford. Yes, been to a couple of Milwaukee home high school games. It's been wonderful to be back in the building and see the field, and just wonderful to be around the excitement and the energy. And of course, very involved with PCLA and the steering committee and working on some bylaws and moving forward. This is a great parent group, a great place to go to find like-minded people that want to help move the district in the direction that our parents and our community is looking to go towards. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Director Perez.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, real quick, just to catch us up on the agenda real quick, I did attend the first Wellness Committee of the year, and as did board member Director Benaloga. And basically, we just discussed objectives and goals for the year, especially in ways to expand our work so that we reach all the staff and give them the support they need in their path to health and well-being. I will say this, Megan Lee is an extraordinarily committed, lots of energy to their wellness. We're lucky to have her. I'm sure Gina, her director, Benaloga, can testify to that, but she's pretty awesome. We're, again, second to none, her energy and commitment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Perez. Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Ford. Tried to get out in the community, also attending some athletic events, football and volleyball. And what struck me is that our administrators and teachers never stop working. You see them all over the place, working with the kids, observing, keeping it safe in all of those environments. So again, hats off to you. I did notice that a retired administrator is contributing his time at a volleyball game. He's a regular announcing the scores in the games for Adrian C. Nelson. So he's still working, he's still out there. I did attend the Madres meeting through Zoom. Parents are excited to be back, just trying to understand all of the OHA OD regulations. So I kind of asked that question. And making sure that we do have the translation for them, even in English. You know, I have trouble understanding it. The PCLA too, attended that with the director, Benaloga. We did talk about the bylaws, but we had a really, I think, good conversation about equity and where we need to go on that, training for all of us, and include the statements of equity, the lens and policy to all of our work, and completed some training. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And thank you all for your work. For my report, first and foremost, before anything, I'm Libra, but I'm a mother. So my kids are back in school. So yeah, life is crazy. I just want to say that. I know it's great that they're back at school, but really like the making the lunches thing and oh my God. Anyway, they're back in school. So that's a big part of my life. Another part of my life that happened during this time between war reports is there was a resolution done by the Oregon Department of Education that I spent a lot of time reading because I thought it was empowering and absolutely necessary. And the resolution was standing behind some of the equity work that we've done as a group, as a state, and also making some strong statements against the movements at Newburgh School Board. So I spent a lot of time reading that because I agree with it and I support it, and I'm excited about what they have decided to publish. In addition to that, I went to the game, the Nelson and Clackamas young ladies playing volleyball. That was fun. It was awesome watching the former administrator make announcements. That was super fun. And I was able to take my daughter, and I think it was a great time for us to just be in that room with all the energy and all that stuff. I also attended two full days on Zoom for our Oregon School Board Association conference, which was supposed to be in person, but of course with some of the variants, it was decided to do on Zoom. So we did that and had a lot of achievements in those meetings, and I look forward to the work that we did do being published so everyone can see what's next for OSBA. And last but not least, with the OSBA board, I'm also the liaison for OSBA for OCCA, which is the Oregon Community College Association. And so I was able to sit on the new executive board selection committee because the new executive director, selection committee, because their executive director retired. And so that was an awesome opportunity. And I look forward to the announcement of the new ED for the OCCA board. And also, they're working really hard at making sure the K through 12 and the community college experience is a better bridge so that kids can be more successful. So excited to see where that all goes. Okay, that's my board report. That's our board reports. Next on our agenda, we have the school investments account, and we have the wonderful Joel Stewart here again. Welcome. What do you got for us?
All right, I will share my screen. All right, so hopefully we can all see it. So good evening, Chair Ford and Board of Directors. And I am here tonight to provide you with the annual report of the student investment account. I will start us off with just a reminder that the original allocation was $13.5 million that we planned for and created a structured plan that would move forward. When we then heard in October that 30% of that funding would actually come through. So we were looking at a $4.3 million investment. In looking at this investment, this graph just shows you the breakdown, and we dedicated, you can see 76% or 3.3 million of it in regards to class size and caseload. And this really was to maintain counselors, special education staff, our health and wellness instructors at the elementary level, and K-1 teachers. In addition to that, the remaining 1 million went to mental health support, a combined effort with Western Psych Services, with looking at professional development and curriculum for our classrooms, and the hiring of 2 culturally specific outreach facilitators, again, strengthening our K-1 program, and then our charter school allocations. In looking at this report, Oregon Department of Education asked us 4 questions that I needed to share answers to, and that's what this report is around. So the first one was in regards to what was the positive impact of the student investment account. And I would say most importantly, the 3 first bullets represent 30 FTE that helped provide just maintaining program, maintaining a lower class size, a caseload, which our students in our community, when we engaged them, stated to us was a high priority. The second component, which I've now had the opportunity to meet with and have conversation with, but it's our community outreach facilitators. And last year we were able to hire 2. And with our new plan, we were able to add a 3rd, a Native American outreach facilitator, and just the energy, the excitement, the work that they are doing. It is, I'll be excited to share next year's report and have them be a part of this presentation, and so that you can meet them and talk about that. But they combine with our engagement specialists, with our liaisons, and it's just a larger team to be meeting the needs of our students. And then, as was stated, our contracted mental health services, continuing to develop community partnerships, MFS, REAP, our early learning programs that are in our community, Clackamas County Health, and more. And then along with that, Jen Burkhart, our new director of, we now have a new title of kindergarten transitional to 2nd grade learning coordinator, due to some regulations of not using money for early learning out of this money. So she and K1 teachers have been working hard at visioning and creating supports for literacy and for a possible transitional kindergarten in the future. And transitional kindergarten would be not of kindergarten age. It would be a program that we are looking at creating that would help support early learners to look at a strength asset of what they bring and expanding upon that. The second question was, what are the challenges along the way? And I will be really candid. The first and foremost was our direct efforts to respond to COVID. We continue to have things change, new regulations, we had emergency daycare. We had, how do we provide food for our community in the midst of this? The list can go on, which all then of our people resources go to the most urgent need, and that was the most urgent need. And so that was one of the challenges along this way. The other was just the ability to engage face-to-face. And we worked really hard at different ways. We had many of, again, our engagement specialists, our outreach facilitators, as they came on board to do empathy interviews, which are those face-to-face of just, we did it virtually, but building that trust and really hearing, as Dr. James would say, hearing their story and responding to that. But it was more difficult. We couldn't just bring a group of community in and have conversation and move through a process. The other piece was, like I mentioned when I first began, we created a plan for $13.5 million. And that even wasn't enough to do all the things that we had hoped to do. And then to get late notification became very problematic, and in some ways with our collective bargaining agreement, in the sense that if you don't hire before the year begins, they're not permanent positions. So to go out where we had hoped to hire 4 social workers, which we desperately needed in this time, for job security, if I was in a current position, would I leave my position to go to a temporary position? Very unlikely. And so we now have those, and that'll be in next year's report, because you're going to hear about the 4 social workers, and meeting with a principal today that has already talked about all of the impact that one individual has had on some families within her school. But again, that became problematic. So these are just some of the challenges along the way. And I don't want to dwell too much on the challenges. I want to, if we could keep going back to slide number 1 of all of the positive things. There was so much positive that came out of that from the hard work of our staff and administrators. Then third question was specific to engagement. And the question was just in regards to what engagement did we do? A lot of the engagement was around CDL, was around what do you need as a student? What do you need as a family? What adjustments do we need to make? And we did also, which I reported on earlier last year, was just what does being successful in school mean to you, and to hear from our students and our parents. And again, Chair Ford, I know that wasn't a directive, it was a suggestion, but it was a wonderful suggestion. And I keep going back to this. In fact, I was meeting with Dr. Dibley today, Assistant Superintendent on the instruction side, and just the importance. Look at these themes that came out. What does it mean to be successful? It means that I feel valued. I have relationships. I have acceptance. We heard that from the students at View Acres tonight, that the joy that they had when they talked about being their friendships and the teacher. It's about that critical thinking, the ability to evaluate in order to make judgments. Not just to say, well, this is my opinion and I'm going to be stuck in this opinion, but really to be critical thinkers. It is the high expectation that we have for each individual, and that we are there to promote growth, to produce that love of learning, to provide them a well-rounded education with multiple offerings that gives them an academic foundation in the midst of, I feel safe, supported, and I have access to all the things that can be offered. And that safety is not just with staff and student, but it is student to student, that I'm not going to be harassed. I'm not going to be intimidated in my learning. And that's our responsibility. And so I keep going back to this because everything we do and all of these money, this is what it should be impacting. This is what it should be getting to as we look at these investments. The last one was just prioritization. And they asked, so how was this prioritization? How did you go from 13.5 million to 4.3 million? And as I looked at that question, I want to go back to the student because again, as Dr. James talks about, each student, each staff member, we all come with the story, and we all want to be valued. We all want to be respected. We all want to be supported. We all want to feel safe. And so how then do we prioritize these investments for that to happen? And I would say that when we looked at the equity lens, we looked at considering who was a part of that process, who was sitting at the table, who would it impact most, who would it create negative impact on if we were to make that decision or not make that decision. And to continue to offer multiple opportunities for feedback, and then to get the feedback back to them, that feedback loop of what did we hear from you and how are we responding to what we heard? And then just being transparent, making this accessible and open. We cannot just, well, here's the money and here's what we're going to do without any flexibility, because we're in a new time today than we were a year and a half ago when we created this plan. And students are coming, we're not even aware of all of the needs that will be coming through and have come through the door, that we need to be flexible enough to say, this has become a great need. We're hearing it from our students, and then how do we respond? And so I go back to, even tonight, you heard from Principal Manspeaker, who said students deserve our very best. In the proclamation, and Chair Ford mentioned that the statement of young people are our most valuable resource. We've got to, and I'll go back to Dr. James's statement that she did in her opening remarks for the district is, and if you can find ways through your work or in your daily life to play that supporting role in the stories of our students, I know we can deliver on our promise to them and our community. And I go back to the final, and this was from the opening remarks from Adrienne C. Nelson. She stated, students matter. And, you know, as I look at this 4.3, it is not anywhere near where all the things that we wanted to do, but they are at the heart of our schools. And we look forward to the following years and working with we have a lot of new leaders and leaders who have been here, but working together and our community to create a more comprehensive plan that will truly impact what our students and our families are asking for. So with that, it's just a report to share how we spent our money, where we're at. And so I'll send it back to you, Chair Ford.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate the updates. Any comments or questions? Looking around, Director Benaloga, are you? Yeah, Director Benaloga.
I do have something. Thank you, Chair Ford. And thank you, Joel. I always appreciate your presentations. You can tell that your heart is in this work, and it comes through in every virtual presentation, and of course, the practically aerobic presentations you did back in person when you were trying to explain student success account and how we were going to make this work. I do have a quick question kind of back on the pie chart, and it's, I think, a little bit of just clarification for our community.
Yep.
And I don't know if I'm going to word this right, but hopefully you'll understand what I mean. So we spent 6% on mental health, and mental health was a huge priority for our community. And I'm concerned that that's not coming across.
Yeah.
But I also know that in class size and caseload, which is where we spent 76%, we also addressed mental health. So can you kind of weave that for us so we can kind of we can understand?
Yeah, so there are different themes that, though they're not, all of these positions, I would say, cover multiple different goals and priorities. So I'll use an example. So the 8.5 that's considered class size would be our elementary wellness teachers. Well, their health and wellness, they're in there for the social emotional. So they're in itself, they are working on that, but they are also there for the class size element. Counselors that are involved with case size, caseload, one of their main priorities is mental health. And so I wish that we didn't have to be, as you can only choose one category, because I believe that these all are connected to increasing mental health and behavioral health. It is just that we had to categorize them for ODE. But a great question. But I would say that our outreach, community outreach facilitators are supporting just the wellness of me by being able to tell my story. So we could go on and on about that, but it's a great question so that they don't think, well, why did not more money go towards mental health?
Can I also jump in and share that we have other funds that we are braiding with SIA that is also supporting mental health that's important. So like our Measure 98 or High School Success has a large portion of funding that is also going towards mental health, and we have some other places. So in addition to what Joel said, we're braiding with other places in a way that makes sense as well.
Well, you read my mind, Superintendent James, because that's where I was going next. So thank you. I just think it's so important for our community when you see that number of 6%. I just don't think our community would really understand. And even I didn't completely understand how those positions were weaving together. And I think it's so important that they know that we all understand that that is the true impact of these student success dollars, and that the district is doing all they can. And I really appreciate that you just bring this to life, Joel, and that it becomes a living, breathing thing. And I always appreciate your presentation and appreciate your work, and of course your team behind you. And thank you so much for answering my question.
I think we're excited too with the new strategic plan as it does engagement and outreach this coming year, how this can complement and support what we again hear from our community.
Right. Director Bauer.
So ending on a even more, I mean, this is all positive. It is that you've had to turn and make the best use of the dollars. But next allotment should go back to the full allotment, right, Joel?
Yes, it's not quite at the 13.5 million. It is, we're looking at, we created a plan on a little bit like 11.5 million, and then we were told that we are receiving a few added dollars to that. So it will most likely be more like 12.5. So it's getting much closer to the full allocation. Yes.
So there was some more movement. So you will be going back out and engaging because, as you said, needs have changed some, or you want to hear again from the community and students. And
yes,
staff.
and on the website, if you go to About Us and then under Superintendent on the right-hand side, you'll see Student Investment Account, and this report will be present. It's already there. And you'll also see the 21-23 plan. And though nothing is solid, and there's room in there for constant engagement and constant of where our needs are, but it does give you kind of an overview of where we really didn't have an opportunity to implement. So we do want to listen, but we also want to continue to engage our community. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your wealth of information of the community too, and how hard you work on this. Thank you.
Welcome.
Other comments, questions for Joel? Director Perez, I see you going for your button.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Very observant, Chair. Actually, my question was around mental health, and Director Bialoga and Director Bauer touched on it. But I just want to say real quick, this is very reassuring, the information that you shared tonight. I also want to say, Joel, I don't know if you heard the proclamation today for the School District Administrators Month. Our district, our students, our community is lucky to have you, because you exemplify excellence. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
I am blessed to work with such talented leaders in this district. So I am always humbled and honored to work with the people that I work with.
So true, Director Perez, I agree. Anyone else? Okay, I will just say I appreciate your report. I know that this has been a big pivot. I love your positivity because you talk about the fact that we got 30% of the funds, when reality is we lost 70%. So I appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you always pivoting and keeping us informed. It's really good information. So good stuff. All right, next on our agenda, we have our board meeting format. Before we get to that, I just want to back up to I made a comment during our presentation about View Acres. And I want to say that I mentioned to add to the bond about Happy Valley, and it just came to me, we also need to add to the bond about Kennedy Elementary School and the traffic over there. Just didn't want to forget to put that out there. Okay, next on our agenda is board meeting format, and this is a discussion item. We're not voting on anything. The goal is to come to some type of consensus where we talk publicly on what potentially is next. So between myself and Dr. James will have a discussion about our board meeting, but just to give a little background, March 23rd through March 23rd, 2020 through March 11th, 2021, our board meetings were all virtual. Actually, as a board chair, I was elected in the virtual forum, and all of my meetings initially were all virtual. And then April 8th through July 1st, we had a hybrid model. And for true transparency, I mean, it was a Zoom link. We had some streaming. We had opportunities for people to come in this entire time, but the hybrid was complicated for us. We did the best that we could, but there were sound issues. There were barriers in that model with the equipment that we had at the time. And so May 6th, we as a group decided to to vote on purchasing better equipment so that we could do it differently. And just like any other barrier, when there's barriers, it's hard to do your job well. And so we did vote on that. And so the work for that began, and we appreciate the team in that. But the world is all needing that. The entire world needs this stuff. And so things don't happen as fast as we like. August 12th, we returned to virtual based on waiting for that equipment. And here we are. We need to discuss what we're doing next and how we're going to do that. I'll turn it over to Dr. James to begin this discussion, and then I will take it from there.
Sounds good. We're going to try this again with our PowerPoint and see if we can get it going here.
It's like the old dial-up you guys got going there. Remember?
We're having some difficulties today. I have not had to hardwire in, and I had to do that today. But while we're getting that started, I'll just go ahead and start us off. But just really, we know that as board members, you've had tough conversation. You have a tough conversation ahead of you around whether we should hold the board meeting virtually or in a hybrid format. And we've had many comments around this topic from our community and our public. And as you talked about, Chair Ford, I just wanted to mention how extremely difficult it has been to hold the in-person board meetings while allowing the community to log on virtually due to the technology setup that we've had. Early on, you guys endured wearing headphones and masks while you're muting and unmuting and all trying to have these difficult conversations in between with echoes, and it proved to be extremely difficult. And so tonight we'll hold a transparent conversation to decide how to proceed. And I would like to just start by sharing some considerations and data with you that will inform your discussion, and then I'll turn it over to you, Chair Ford, to help with additional understanding, options, and nuances, and in addition to facilitating the conversation. So I'll start by sharing that North Clackamas School District has really focused our decision-making on prioritizing low transmission rates in an effort to maintain 5 full days of in-person instruction for students. And so some of the decisions that we have made have been hard because it's been keeping that in mind. And we've also have followed our local health authorities by limiting our non-essential gatherings and outside visitors in an effort to keep our schools open. And again, going with 5 days of instruction for students. Currently, right now, Clackamas County continues to be at a high risk level and has been for the last few weeks. And so moving into the next slide, this is a visual that shows the community transmission is high across our state. Clackamas County had 857 confirmed cases the week of September 12th. Or you could also say in a different way, 200.9 cases per 100,000 of our residents, with a test positivity rate of 9.2%. And you can compare that with statewide numbers. In the same week, there was 281 cases per 100,000 residents, with a test positivity rate of 10.4%. So over the past 4 weeks, we continue to monitor the data as you talk about this new learning that we certainly have been doing. And over the past 4 weeks, we have continued to hold steady at over 200 cases per 100,000 of our residents, fluctuating between a 9 to 10% test positivity rate, which continues to be high. And in addition to that, we have also looked at data that is going to show up on the next slide here that we showed you a little earlier tonight around our isolation and quarantine numbers between staff and students within the district. And it really does align to what we're seeing countywide as well with our peers and our neighbors. And as you see here, we've had an influx of cases amongst our staff and students within the last 3 weeks. We continue to work hard to contain it and mitigate and manage it through protocols that we know that works, continuing to mask, vaccination, washing hands, sanitizing surfaces, our ventilation and airflow, social distance, etc. But we're still trying to be as cautious as we can with the social distancing. So just wanted to make sure that you had that information that will help you in the discussion, and I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Ford, for options and conversation.
Excellent. Thank you for that grounding of kind of statistics. So there's these terms being thrown out there, right? Like there's this hybrid opportunity for board meetings, and then there's what we're doing now, which is considered the virtual option. And of course, there's also an in-person option. And so when you look at the three terms, hybrid kind of blends the two worlds of virtual and in-person together, which is a great kind of Venn diagram that you see there. So hybrid meetings, some opportunities here. We can increase diversity. We have higher attendance. It breaks down social geographical barriers. And then of course, there's better accommodation. It better accommodates schedules. Challenges with a hybrid meeting, of course, is exposure to COVID-19. It could lead to additional quarantine and isolation amongst our staff and our board members. And we must be masked with in-person and new technology installed with some distribution delays. Things to consider in a hybrid meeting. There's many things. Currently, North Clackamas has a guideline for our school activities of under 25 people with large gatherings. So that's something that we have to consider. We need to develop a system for allowing viewers in person. If it exceeds 25, the impact of people gathering in the boardroom with staff and presenters, like what is that going to do? And then sound, of course, is something that we must consider, and also the requirements of the new technology and it all being available, as well as us using it well in a way where people still feel like they can hear and be a part. The technology equipment requirements, like I said to Dr. James when I was reviewing this, I'm hoping that technology people are here just in case people have questions about these big words about what technology requirements are there. But we have experts that know what we need. And at this point, I've been informed that we have everything we need with the exception of the laptop. It's just not been put in the room, but it is available. We just have to get that last piece inside of the boardroom and then be ready to go. Virtual meetings are what we're doing now, and something that we have as an option, not just by choice, but also by law. So the opportunities here are increased diversity, higher attendance, break down social and geographic barriers, better combination of schedules, higher participation in public comments, no participation limits, less opportunity for COVID-19 transmission, and we don't need masks. The challenges of the virtual meeting is there's no in-person public comments, presenters are virtual, not able to see gestures and facial expressions, community participation via YouTube, requires internet connection, and technology issues could interfere with the meeting. Meeting virtually, things we need to consider. Some community members concerned about perceived lack of opportunity to participate, perception of schools being open, why aren't board meetings being held in public also with the schools being open, internet service required to participate in board meetings, and possible technology issues interfering with the meeting. And I think our last one that is not necessarily a slide, but obviously a consideration is full in person. So that is still an option to us. But at this time, I think it's important that as each board members, you state how you feel, which one you are, I guess, leaning towards and would like for us to consider. And then this is not a vote. This is basically a consensus opportunity, but I will take whoever wants to speak first. Don't all rush to the mic.
Director Schradel. Wait. I think Mitzi was going to unmute. There's pros and cons to all the things that are presented. Because it's discussion and trying to seek consensus, I see some challenges, and guidance changes all the time. And so I'm more inclined to be looking at the health metrics that are defined in our county as trying to help us guide our decision-making based on research data. We're currently listed as a high. And if we had in-person meetings now, I think it still would be the same situation. If an adult took off a mask and we had a student in the room, we would have to adjourn, but guidance changes. So it could have been updated earlier today and I could be thinking I had vintage information. So I know we're having a discussion, but from the clarity side, Chair, if it's okay if I could ask, do you know what would take place if we had a gathering of 15 people and a student was present and somebody chose to not wear a mask, what we would do?
So this is definitely a question that has been asked, and we have to follow district policy, right? And so the management of that is something that we would have to all agree to take on, right? And so the answer to me is yes, they would have to be masked because that's our policy across the district. But the management of that and how we get that to happen becomes where it creates a challenge, right? And I want to be clear that we are obligated to get the business of the district done. We are not obligated to do that in person. Anything that interrupts our ability to get the business done only delays the inevitable of making sure our kids get what they need. And so when you ask, what do we do or what will we do if a student's there and someone doesn't want to be masked? To me, it's an interference of getting the business done. Because instead of us focusing on an agenda, our entire moment will be focused on getting this person masked.
I want us to be able to meet in public, but I also, the when is the timing, and finding ways to improve the public's ability to participate so that we step it up somehow to improve that access. But I'm more in favor of recognizing that a pandemic is still happening and Clackamas County is in the high risk definition as of me speaking right now. That's my 2 cents.
So in this moment, Director Schradel, of the 3 options, what would be your preference?
Maintain doing virtual at this time. And then, of course, we would revisit this as things change, as guidance changes.
Thank you for that. Other directors? Director Bauer?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ford. Just a couple thoughts. I think I also was thinking about the mask, and that being an interruption, but also there's still some limits of our board's room size would limit to, and there's local limits of less than 25 that can be present. But I'm even wondering if the size of our room would limit it even further with social distancing. And then who gets to come in the room? Is it people who are residents? If there's people who aren't, just first come, first serve. But the high risk level does concern me some, and the limited gatherings. The perception of lack of opportunity to speak out, I think, we have that still online. It's available. Now, if you don't have a connection, that would limit you. So eventually I do want to get to a hybrid, but I'm not quite there yet. And perhaps it is, as Director Schradel said, limited or looking at metrics. I want to hear from other board members too.
Absolutely. So I have you as a current preference of virtual with, like Director Schradel said, looking at metrics for future opportunity of hybrid.
Yeah, and I want to get there because I think doing both is the best, but I want to do it safely.
Thank you. Other directors? Director Benaloga.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ford. I want to go back to a couple of things. And I remember when we had started, when we were looking at how we were going to respond to the pandemic. And one of the core values of the district was to not contribute to community spread. That was one of our core values when it came to the pandemic. And I think looking at that, and then looking at the slide that says that Clackamas County has advised as of 9/8/21, only allowed outside visitors that are essential for school programming, and activities and other large gatherings should be virtual. And I agree with you, Chair Ford, that we have been completing the business of the district virtually. It is not ideal and is not what we want for moving forward. And we know that this is not the perfect scenario, but I think that it is the safe scenario. And I think that hopefully our community will understand. I do agree that we are looking at many issues when it comes to how many people do we allow. Once we are back in person, we are then wearing masks. And I know that's been a concern over time, that we've been dealing with this, where I do think it makes the communication challenging when we're wearing masks. I think it does take some of the personal pieces of our meetings away when we're wearing those masks. So I would also still be in favor of virtual meetings, until which time, and I agree with also linking those with county metrics. I think that's very important. And we are still in the high risk level. And I think to keep our community safe, It's keeping our meetings virtually may be the way to go for now.
Excellent. So I have you also down as preference of virtual with the metrics being guide. Okay. Director Perez.
Yeah. This is a struggle for me because I always like the in-person and I always like going about things. We're a village and we're all in this together for our children. But this is not the norm. This pandemic's kind of upended so many things in so many ways, and with the numbers being where they're at now, and I still think I agree with as far as getting the business done, but also our community, they can participate. We also have the live streaming. I think for now, I want to get to a hybrid. I echo what Director Barr and Director Benaloga and Director Fredo have said, as well as you, Chair. And I think at this time, virtual. But to get to hybrid as soon as we can.
Thank you, Director Perez. I have you down as virtual. And I will say that I hear from each of you, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me, that virtual with the desire to move to hybrid, base and metrics being one director, and of course, us continuing conversation to be another. So before we close this out, I will make my comments as a person that has a seat on this board. I will say this, I think that what you said, Director Benaloga, about the things that we have been standing by since the beginning are important for us to continue to stand by. I have heard and listened to many people who have many opinions on what we should do, including the teachers. I hear you and the comparison of you being in person versus us being in person. I think the statement of not contributing to the spread is important, as well as adding to that, keeping our kids in person in school. And so if we don't contribute to the spread, then we keep the kids in school. And then there's another side of this that oftentimes we don't want to talk about, but we get a lot of emails about school boards being politicized and the fact that a lot of the school boards across the nation have become a political catastrophe. I think in this forum, we've been able to really control that, focus on what is important, which is our kids and the governance of this district. I don't talk about this because I am not fearful. I don't live by fear, and I'm not controlled by crazies. But I will say that I've gotten personal emails throughout this time that are dangerous and violent. And to me, I'm not willing to put myself as a woman of color in front of people that have less than honorable objectives. If you are not here to talk about children and the needs in this community, I am not going to listen to that. And unfortunately, we've seen across this nation that many people want us to meet in public to do that. And I think that is not worth our time. Our kids deserve more, and we don't deserve anyone approaching us with politics. We're only here to do the work of our kids. That's it. So with that being said, I would prefer hybrid, but if we are not ready for that, I understand. I think that virtual is safe. It keeps us in control. And I will say that whenever we're ready for hybrid, if you come and you disturb the business of North Clackamas School District, we will absolutely shut you down because we are only here for one reason, and that is our kids. And anyone that has any other objective will not be listened to. So I hear as a consensus that we are currently going to stay in the virtual model. I think that we can add it maybe to the agenda once a month for now, so that we can keep talking about it. It doesn't delay in any way. And so that way, when we are ready to do it, we're right on it. We don't have to wait. And if we're all okay with that, if you just give me a head nod, I'll work with Dr. James on making sure that we keep that going. With that being said, that is the end of our meeting, our last agenda item, and we will see you next meeting virtually. And I also think that we can commit to educating our community better on how they can get connected. If they don't understand, we can take on that responsibility to make sure people know how to get their voices heard. Other than that, it is 8:49. As usual, I absolutely respect each and every one of you for being here. Thank you for your time. Fellow board members, thank you for your commitment. And everyone in North Clackamas School District, thank you for your commitment to our kids, to our community, and to the next generation. With that being said, it is 8:50. Meeting is adjourned. Have a great night, guys.
Everybody stay safe. Have a great night.